of the week. It is November 22nd. This week's code of conduct is to strive for restraint, discretion, and integrity. Your favorite, Mr. Dow. Would you like to highlight a couple key points to it?
Well, a culture becomes what we naturally do, right? And that's what we work on as our self-discipline to be accountable and responsible for what we say and what we do. So just thinking ahead of what you say and do helps you with the self-discipline to exercise restraint, discretion, and integrity. So think about doing the right thing, and then usually you let your internal integrity, which is your gut, tell you what to do.
Excellent. So 50 days from our last recordables. Good job this last couple weeks. Let's finish this little today out strong. And then next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be off Thursday, Friday next week. So no safety meeting next week. So let's hopefully when we come back in 2 weeks, we can be at 64 days. So we got 4 days from our last first aid. We did have a little struck by incident occurred. So remember those, the main focus for struck by, caught in between, electrical, and falls. We'll be talking a lot about falls today. But just remember those main focus 4 hazards. Those are the ones that get us. And then we did have a little incident with some vehicle incidents, very minor speed again on job sites in and around projects. So let's really just highlight just good safe driving behaviors and scanning, taking your time, get out and look type of mentality, so we can eliminate some of these small little incidents that we're having that are causing property damage to our vehicles. So with the upcoming weather that we're seeing, the 10-day, looking like we might see some snow in the forecast. We might come back after break on the 2nd of December with some snow on our project. So I thought it'd be a good time to kind of talk about winter conditions and slip, trips, and falls. So historically, we see anywhere from 3 to 5 slip, trips, and fall incidents over pretty much the last decade. And we've had incidents that occurred from, rotator cuff surgery to fractures, leg fractures, falling off equipment. We've seen some pretty severe incidents just because of the slippery conditions that we're really going to face over here in the next couple months. So really want to highlight some of the best practices that we'll talk about today and some things to consider, and then reach out to Tom and myself if you need any special supplies, PPE, or, having us visit projects to brainstorm and solve some problems of how to eliminate and prevent slip and trip falls on your projects. So one of the biggest ones is walking on a job site. Have a plan, take deliberate steps. You want to keep your weight over your front foot, kind of walk like a penguin if you do have an icy condition or packed snow, slip, trips, and falls that way. If you're walking normally, you're going to go head over T-cult and you're going to land awkwardly. And usually you put your arm out, you brace yourself for that fall, and that's bang, you got a rotator cuff injury. So those are the things we want to try to prevent, is really wearing a footwear with good slip resistant sole or some type of traction aid. Genesee, Wyoming, when we're working on the railroad tracks for them, they have a company policy that says if you can't use sand or salt, is impractical, you got to wear some type of over boot protective with kind of a cleat like boot, so you can prevent some of those injuries on those really slippery situations. So get out and shovel, get out, put that salt and sand down, really try to prevent those icy, slippery conditions, because that's something that we can control. We can eliminate it. We don't have to just keep walking on the same surface, packing that down. The freeze and thaw that we see throughout the year makes it really icy on some of these long-term projects that we're going to be working with over this winter. So take extra care working out equipment, like I said before, especially if we're tracking around kind of snow-covered areas. The snow and the ice gets caught in the cleats of the excavators, and you get out of that excavator and you slip and you fall, and you can really hurt yourself kind of falling off a piece of equipment. So make sure you use those 3 points of contact and be very thoughtful and mindful of what you're doing when you're entering and exiting equipment. We've had some pretty severe accidents in the past of individuals kind of rushing, getting in and out of equipment with these icy, snowy conditions that we're going to be facing here in the next couple months. Then we have frost blankets, our favorite, right? Putting those out every day, take them down every day. Very, very slippery. First thing in the morning, going out and shovel them all out. Remembering hole discrepancies, or if there's a slab that we're protecting and there might be a hole in the slab that the frost blanket might be covering. We want to make sure that we put wood down first so we don't have someone step on a frost blanket and then fall through a floor penetration or a very big grade change, because that's when we're starting to see some of those knee sprains, back issues, so soft tissue issues, just kind of working on those frost blankets. So get the shovels out. Let's, shove them off daily, try to keep them dry as best we can. Create little walking paths using lumber if you need to. Just really be mindful when we're working on frost blankets. Again, try to keep that your weight forward, kind of above that front foot, because that will help you prevent that fall. So be mindful working on and around with frost blankets out there. And then lastly, keep the site and work site safe and clean. Clear the snow from the work sites when working or walking. Try to create designated walk areas. Try to put that salt and sand down. Designate those locations. Keep the work area as dry as possible. So grade changes. Try not to have major ruts on your project. If you can kind of shed that water, that will prevent ice from forming during those freeze and thaws situations. Keep working surfaces clear of unused tools and debris. So good housekeeping, especially when you get a buttload of snow. It's very hard to find our chains, our extension cords, any type of curb pins, rebar, all that stuff that we need to do our job. So good housekeeping is paramount over the winter conditions. And then be aware of changes to the site when freezing and thaws occur. So again, each day is going to be a little bit different. Make that initial assessment when you're doing the JHA, talking with the crew to start the beginning of the day. Let's highlight the importance of just kind of talking about it, trying to eliminate those icy conditions with salt and sand, or if it is an upgraded level of PPE with good over boots with spikes. Again, safety can help you if you want those types of proper footwear for those conditions. We do have a little bit of those in stock to help eliminate falls on projects. That's all I really have on this. Let's really focus to try to eliminate this potential on our job sites, because when it does happen, it usually results in a work-related recordable injury, sometimes out of work type of scenario, because it's usually a pretty bad soft tissue injury that occurs slipping and falling from at ground level or off of a piece of equipment or at heights. So let's try to do our best to prevent that. That's all I have, Ben. I'll kick it over to you.
Thanks, Matt. I just need to I'm going to try to share now. Anybody else have any other comments on Matt's safety topic? I think you did a pretty thorough job. Here, can you see that screen, Matt?
We got it.
Should I make it bigger? What do you think?
Wouldn't hurt to zoom in if you
okay.
Do that quick.
Let me try to make it just a little bit bigger. What I think somebody told me 150 works. How's that?
Perfect.
You make it too large, and then it's hard to capture what you want in the screen. All right. Good morning. Friday's safety focus of the week was winter prep, slips, trips, and falls. On the email, I did leave. I'm not going to read through it, but I did leave the bullet points, the major bullet points regarding the ESOP on here in light blue. So you could feel free to read that. We do have, soon we will have put out to everyone the summary plan documents.
Half a mile or so.
Yep.
What's that?
Because when it's choppy, I'll go out that way and just stay in between where the cut is and where that bridge is.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, I've got some guys that are unmuted, but I can't determine who it is, Matt.
Yeah, I'm looking through now. They're muted now if they weren't before.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Okay, so like I was saying, the summary plan documents will be coming soon, which will give you a lot more information, probably too much information on the ESOP. The most important thing is that when we work as a company and we do well, the benefits go to all of us. It's the easiest way to explain it. Health and dental news. So the deadline for open enrollment is November 30th. So we got another week, but we've got a holiday in there. And the 30th is a Saturday this year. And right now, we've talked about this before, but every employee is required to set up the online access. I've done it. I think Matt Orzelak, you've done it.
Yep.
It's online. You're going to get an email either in your company email or your personal email if you have it. It's really actually I thought it was pretty easy. It just goes through and allows you to select all the things that we do every year. We used to do it on paper and try to chase everyone down manually, but it works pretty well if you actually open the email and do it. So I'm encouraging everyone to do that. I know that Pat Wells went up yesterday and got a little help from Melanie. The people up front are familiar with and able to help you run through it. If you're here at the office and you go up front to the main office, they've got a computer in their conference room and it'll take 10 minutes and they'll help you do it. They'll walk you through it if you want.
Ben,
Yeah.
also good to know that even if you're not on it, you still have to go through, because I'd to
Yes.
basically deny or
Yes.
not deny, but to tell
Yeah.
you not to.
Yeah, there's some other
Put a bit on it.
paperwork in there, like our W-4 and our verification of different things that we do every year. And we even need to opt out and let them know if we're
Right.
on
Yeah.
our spouse's health care.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Exactly.
questions in there. So yeah, every employee, as per the beginning of that sentence, every ECI employee is now required to set up the online access. If you can't do it or if you have a problem with it, go up front. Melanie's going to be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, starting at 5 a.m. She's going to run some different hours, so she'll be available next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. She's working some earlier hours for anyone that needs help. Just you can give her a call. She gave me her cell phone to put on this email, or you can just go up there between sometime after 5. Give her don't get there before 5 because she won't be there, but she will help you get through it. Now, anyone who meets the deadline and gets this done by November 30th is going to be entered in a raffle for a chance to win a $250 gift card. I guess Gina has the card already, and she's ready to do that raffle, and she's going to enter all of us who have done our due diligence and met the deadline of November 30th. So get it done. Ask any of us here in the office if you need help. We'll help you, but try to make sure that you get that done by the 30th, and you get a chance for that $250 gift card. There is a link to the benefit rates here, but the cool thing is when you do this ease, it actually has all the rates right in the program when you walk through it. Just a reminder from last week, winterizing the equipment, winter fuel, things like that we talked about. Remember that. Also, last week we announced Don McKenzie being promoted to foreman, so I left that on there for another week to remind anyone or anyone that we didn't catch. I walked out this morning and I checked out the clean wood bin. If you're facing the 3 dumpsters, there's the wood, the metal, and the trash dumpsters all lined up just before you go in that back gate where they park the low beds. Just to the left of those, towards where we kind of store some of the pipe, there is a containment area, and it's formed with jersey barriers, and it's meant for what Mr. Burns calls it clean wood, but no plywood, no pressure treated, and basically wood that's going to be discarded, that's not reusable, or that looks like it's something to be recycled or burned, can go in that bin. If you have questions, talk to Scott or one of his guys. The concrete guys also have, just so you know, for wood that's, Don McKenzie told me 2 feet or longer. If it's 2 feet or longer and it's fairly good looking 2x4s and different dimensional lumber, bring it over. Just if you go through the gate by the office here and go straight back towards where those couple of bins are on the left, the concrete guys have some wood area where they have different 2x4s and different members stacked up, and they reuse them for forming. They use them for their whaler systems, their railing systems. And if it's over 2 foot long and it's a fairly decent looking piece of wood, you can bring it out there, and it should be obvious to what stack it goes in. We want to try to not waste the lumber. It costs a lot of money for us, and as you all know, if whatever we save here is going to go to your future, so let's try to ask questions and try to do the right thing and not just toss every single piece of wood that we're done with in that big red wood dumpster that we have out there. Any question, talk to Mr. Burns. He asked me not to put him on the spot this morning, so I won't have him talk, but find him, talk to any of the guys if you have a question, and certainly talk to any of the concrete guys, you know, Ronnie, Jim Garvey, those guys. If you see them around and you got a question about the lumber, ask them. Okay. The preventative care rewards program is still going. It's going until December 1st. That means if you have had a physical exam this calendar year, and you let them know up front, especially if you haven't had it through Champlain Medical or through your health insurance that's through ECI, you're going to be you're going to get a $50 gift card, first of all, and second of all, you'll be entered in another raffle for another $250 gift card. So if you play your cards right, you can get $550 out of some of the stuff that I've been talking about today. I think Gina has already let people know who is entered in the program. You probably get an email. The buck pool is, I think it's closed for entry.
It is closed, Mr. Dow.
Matt, any updates on the buck pool? Have you got any bucks yet? I know you.
No.
When are you going to pick the winner? Look, you still there?
No, yeah, I'm still here. No updates yet. No official weigh-ins or scoring. The buck pool is closed, but we'll keep you guys posted of, you know, how it's going, who's got deer, and the winner.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Matt.
you, guys.
Okay, I've still got the link to the primary wellness program and the employee assistance program. Hey, Phil Forster, are you on this morning?
I am, yep.
Phil, do you want me to let you take your screen and share
Yeah,
it?
I'll take it over, Ben, just to be easier.
Okay, he's gonna present the project of the week.
There we go. You can see it, right?
We can.
Okay, great. This is probably the final Richmond Route 2 bridge replacement presentation. Hold on one second. You guys want to turn that down just a second? I got the guy sitting in the other room with the volume way up. So ECI is contracted with V-Trans to replace and then remove Bridge 29, which carries Route 2 over I-89 just east of Richmond Village. In the previous project highlights, we discussed mass earth moving, various excavation support systems, construction of cast-in-place concrete abutments, pier and retaining walls, the MSC wall construction and utility work, and lastly, the construction of the steel superstructure for the new bridge. Today, we'll highlight the construction of the concrete deck and the removal of the existing structure. Here you can see the new bridge next to the old bridge, single pier, and the old bridge has a very deteriorated current 8-span pier. Oh, did that not? There we go. We ended in August having just set over 1 million pounds of steel. The next step were to construct the cast-in-place concrete bridge deck, switch traffic to the new bridge, and start the removal of the existing structure, all while keeping the traveling public isolated from the work and overhead hazards. With support from ECI, the agency surveyed the profile of the girders every 5 feet and provided haunch elevation at those locations to ensure a minimum deck thickness was achieved. This contract allowed for us to use stay-in-place metal forms on the interior bays, but required the removal of wood forms from the outside. Here's a cross-section of some of the forming details that we put together to help kind of achieve that. And basically they want a 9.5-inch thick deck, and as you come with the super elevation and the 5% cross slope, as you come across these girders, those they gave us the thickness of that haunch in the center of the girders, and we had to calculate it on either the left and the right side of that haunch, which could vary as much as 3/4 of an inch. So it was very had to be very precise when forming it all up. The stay-in-place metal forms are light gauge galvanized corrugated metal pans, approximately 3 feet in width, spanning from the edge of the flange to edge of flange, which was about 7'6" in this case. The advantage of using stay-in-place metal forms is that they do not need to be removed after the concrete has been placed. Here's a structural detail. It shows the angles being welded right to the side, and we'll get into that just a little bit more. To install stay-in-place metal forms, angles are stitch welded every 1.5 inches per foot along the top flange of the interior girders. This equated to roughly about 315 feet of welding. It was very meticulous. At every 5 feet, the angle location had to be adjusted to within 1/8 of an inch of that design height thickness, or the haunch thickness that we talked about. The weld had to be very precise because the haunch elevations were calculated from design finish grades. That means these angles dictated how the forms were going to fit, how the rebar was going to land, and how much concrete cover would be above the rebar. The spec allows for a 1/4 inch tolerance on the cover, and this is difficult to check until the bridge screen is in place. An error at the welding stage would most likely not be noticed until a few days before the pour, and will have devastating effects on the schedule and cost. We had a few learning curves just as far as the welding goes, and with it being a light gauge, but there was no issues at the end. And here you see 3 of the guys burning rod, putting those angles in. Baking in the sun and surrounded by reflective galvanized pans of steel frequently reach temperatures upwards of 130 degrees. And as you saw, those guys are just kneeling on that steel. You felt it right through your pants, your gloves. It was quite grueling. The crews worked quickly behind the welding team, installing deck pans and eliminating fall hazards and horizontal lifeline needs as the work progressed. Girder flange thickness added an extra layer of complexity to the sequencing of the horizontal lifeline installation. Flange-mounted stanchions could be used on all but 2 of the girders. At these locations, studs had to be welded prior to production stud installation to allow for stud-mounted stanchions to be used and provide access to 100% of the bridge deck. With phased traffic, an extensive public protection plan, and road widening, all the work was completed without any claims from the traveling public. Although we did have a few people try to blame us for their own issues. Although it was quick to install, the stay-in-place metal form have their own inherent risk, as they can provide a false sense of security if not installed correctly. A set of procedures and checks were implemented to eliminate these hazards. Exterior deck forming was done using overhang brackets and stick-built framing. These brackets also had to be adjusted to match the design haunch thickness to ensure uniform exterior deck and curb reveal. The precision here was as imperative as during the welding of the angles for the stay-in-place metal forms, and shim thicknesses and jigs were used to ensure that all the effort that went into the edge forming only needed to be done once. At no point was any work allowed to occur over live traffic. Initially, decking was placed over the closed northbound barrel on the interstate, but as our contractual 60 days of permitted crossover use expired, work proceeded with daily lane closures and close coordination between all the crews performing work on the structure. There's our newest foreman, Don, during the MFC wall pour. The bridge deck was broken into 3 separate pours of about 160 cubic yards each. ECI subcontracted with Suncoast Reinforcing out of Mansfield, Ohio to install over 90 tons of deck reinforcing. and we contracted with Parent Construction out of Heinsberg, Vermont to place and finish the deck. ECI provided crane and labor support to both subs, with up to 20 ECI workers assisting with the deck placement. ECI implemented and maintained the 10-day wet cures as well. The deck pours utilized a 47-meter pump, which had about 136 feet of reach, and every pour had a second pump on standby in case of equipment failure. This proved instrumental, as during our very first pour, the pump suffered a mechanical issue, and the backup pump, set up at a different location, was able to continue with the pour without any major downtime. The structure was so large that in most cases it was more efficient to use two pumps from two locations rather than resetting the same pump twice. So here we're doing our last pour, I believe, and we had one pump down on the interstate pouring concrete and one sitting up on the old bridge with only half its outriggers out, pouring, picking up where that initial pump left off. Deck pours are a race against the summer heat and frequently started around 4:30 a.m. and continued well into the evening, and until everything was cleaned up and in cure. And here's the 47-meter pump setting up down on the northbound barrel of the interstate. It's the moon in the background. It's bright and early.
Wow.
Stormwater systems were also finalized during this phase of the project, with sheeting being used to facilitate the installation of oversized culvert head walls near the existing roadway. And this just shows some of our ECI's unique capabilities of doing work near live traffic. In deep excavations, it all went together well. We're pouring the footing. And there's the head wall with the pipe going through it at the end. Once the wearing course was paved for 25 feet on either side of the bridge approach, another subcontractor, JP Hogan from Staten Island, New York, mobilized to grind the deck in preparation for traffic. The structure has an exposed concrete deck, which had to be grooved by grinding to create traction. This required the removal of the top half-inch, bringing the total deck thickness down to 9 inches. And there's what that surface looks like at the end. Just very small ridges and some exposed aggregate. Due to the elevational differences between existing Route 2 and proposed Route 2, clever phase line construction and large earthen ramps were used to complete full depth reconstruction and the construction of the new alignment under daily single lane closures. The fire department required constant access to their building and bays during construction, and as a result provided ECI with a scanner to give the crews a few minutes notice in case of an emergency so that equipment and material could be cleared. For the last 2 years, we placed close to 25,000 cubic yards of earth borrow, 11,000 cubic yards of O5A, and about 600 yards of type stone fill for the ditches. The Bridge 29 opened to the traveling public on 10/21, and the demolition of the existing structure started the very next day. That's us on opening day. Malcolm came to see me as well. And there it is. One of our inspectors is a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and he took a picture of the bridge that day, which was pretty cool to see. Utilizing rolling roadblocks during the first phase of demolition, Sessler Wrecking began removing the center span over the median with traffic in their respective travel lanes. This is their wing trailer catching debris, and hopefully keeping any small rocks from flying into the traveling lanes. The conditions of the old bridge quickly became apparent as every strike with the hoe ram resulted in concrete falling off the entire structure. Here's another picture of the demolition guys. They would hammer along the beams and then fold the deck back in slabs and cut the rebar and pulverize those just off the side of the bridge.
Nice photo.
Yeah, that was a nice crisp morning. It was all hands on deck to remove debris from the roadway. So like I was saying, as they started hammering on the bridge deck, all the spalled concrete that was just barely hanging on with spider webs that came crashing down on the interstate, and we swept it out of the way and cleared it during some rolling roadblocks. And then after that kind of settled out, and the Sessler Wrecking continued to work. Once the initial falling material had fallen off the bridge, ECI proceeded to swap traffic into the crossover configurations again and proceeded to remove crane pad infrastructure, edge forms, and restore the site to its final condition. Here you've got Troy prying on those exposed wooden forms on the outside. And they definitely went in easier than they came out, but I think overall the structure really shines now. ECI's crews of operators and laborers and truck drivers quickly found efficiency in moving barriers from one lane to the other and then off the interstate again, averaging about 400 linear feet of barrier transported per hour. This turned the daunting task of picking up 4,500 linear feet of barrier and placing it back down into a day and a half high-speed operation with live interstate traffic on both sides. And really, the crews worked well together. All the drivers. It was a pretty well orchestrated operation. And there they are getting the machine ready in the morning. Thumbs up from the guys. I'm sure they were happy to get started that early. As of today, the existing structure has been removed entirely, and the interstate's been restored to its pre-construction condition, approximately 140 days ahead of schedule. For the remainder of the year, ECI will remove excavation support along the old widened section of Route 2, install the final phase of deep storm infrastructure, and continue with the restoration as long as the conditions allow this year. 2025 will consist of site and environmental restoration and final paving and line striping. And that's it.
Nice, Phil. Hey, Phil, I've got one for you right here.
Oh, wonderful.
So, just finding a similar project that has a lot of complexities in it. There's a couple of bridges there, your temporary bridges, but this is October 30th, 2015, a few years back. And I think you remember this one well, Phil.
I do remember that one well.
This photo was taken by McKinney, who was up, I guess, in the where you had your quarry area or something up there. He climbed up and took this. It's a good photo. Took him a little bit to find this.
Got our two temporary bridges there, lots of excavation support, and plenty of framework.
Pretty cool. So, thanks a lot, Phil. That was a job well done to everyone who worked on it, because a lot of the company worked on that job
Yes.
and was involved. So, I think it's a feather in our cap. That had a lot of public exposure, as did this one here. But that one, what an impressive job. So, thanks to everyone who was involved.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for their support.
And I'll turn it over to Matt.
All right, thank you. If you're watching a group setting, please send that over so you can capture attendance. But let's have a safe day. Let's have a great day.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.